10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this July 7th, 2020 evening. And Chris, you just mentioned to me, I can't believe we're still going on this. What is this, like the fourth month on lockdown?
Well, we had the Arnold with no crowd.
It's actually July 6th. I don't know why I screwed up. It's okay.
We had the Arnold with no prejudging crowd, and I came home, and then once I get home, everyone said, you can't leave your house.
So that was March, April, May, June. So 4 months, yeah.
Middle of March, April, May, June. Huh?
I don't think it's stopping anytime soon.
Well, it's like Memorial Day, everyone went out, and then now there's like 50,000 cases a day.
Well, Florida's the new hotbed, but you know what? That's because obviously everyone comes here to vacation. So,
yeah, I saw that.
I feel bad for the airlines. I really do. Even though I always bitch and complain about the airline. We always have airline complaints.
The airlines never lose.
Nah, they're losing. They're losing big. They got to be. Gotta be.
What happens is with the airlines, they make their profit when times are good. They charge you $50 a bag. How can they lose money?
But think about it. Four months.
They make money when times are good, and then when 9/11 comes, they run to the government and say we need billions of free money.
That's what they're probably getting right now.
And then they get free money, and then they make tons of money, and all the executives make tons of money.
Right.
All the stakeholders and shareholders make tons of money.
Yeah.
And then a coronavirus comes, and then they go back to the government and say,
print this more money. Yeah.
Yeah, I need another $80 billion. And then everyone in the middle with a gym or a supplement company are doing one-on-one training or has a sandwich shop or a little boutique hotel, they get crushed.
Yeah, it's sad. I feel bad for the small business owners. It's funny because I forget who sent me something was with regard to just business in general. And they say, a lot of times there's some of the most knowledgeable people who buy businesses, they don't like to buy very big businesses because they know that during weird times like this, those businesses get crushed because there's just so much overhead and expense. They like small businesses that don't have a lot of people and don't have a lot of overhead and have no debt and stuff like that, because during times like this they can survive.
Yeah, they're nimble.
Yeah, so I'm glad that my company is very nimble.
Yeah, you're glad you don't own an airline.
I can't even imagine if I had like a commercial like where I was actually in a gym or something like that on a daily basis. Like even like Steve Weinberg, I'm sure he's got to be really upset about the whole situation because he's a guy who he didn't have to sell gym memberships. People just came to the gym, and now he can't even open his gym.
Yeah, it's insane
because that's stressful. As a person who makes your living from that you can't do it. And I understand why people like Louis Chiradell lost his mind and went and did that, or the other guy we had on the show, Dave, who up in Massachusetts there, who had the problem, with the government coming in, local government, and shut him down. I mean, it hurts. I mean, as a business to lose your business because you can't open the doors, and meanwhile, you can sell whatever you're selling, whether it be health and fitness or food, or luckily, I guess the best business to be in right now, I guess, is the supermarkets, right?
Yes, supermarkets or.
They got to be selling more food than ever because no one's going out to eat. I mean, that's for sure. Not a lot of people are.
Nobody's going out to eat. Nobody's going out to eat.
No.
What's it? Kroger stock is up. Walmart stock is up.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of stock's up anyway. But
you can't even go to when I go to McDonald's, like for the kids now, we'll go and do takeout. They don't even have the restaurant's not even open. You can't go in and sit and eat. Not that I would anyway, but
I wonder what's going to happen to like Chinese buffet restaurants. They'll probably be.
They'll never. I don't think they'll ever open again. I'm so upset. I'll never have another sushi buffet to go to.
I know you're the sushi and buffet king.
What's going to happen to the Golden Corral?
I know.
They're going to have to have seating. They're going to have to have they're going to have to start serving a menu there.
Yeah. Well, I guess you still could do all you can eat, but you're just like on your iPad or phone, you could pick the items that you want. And then
you don't have to even talk to the waiter and waitress. They just bring it to you. Yeah. They drop it off by robot. That'll be the new thing. You go into a restaurant, you post your order on your iPad or your iPhone, like you said, and then a robot will just drop it off at you. Like there'll be no interactions with any human beings anymore.
With what's it?
Can you imagine if you're still dating? What a thank God we have a family. We have families. You can't even go on a date. It's crazy. No. I feel bad for the young kids.
Yeah, even the prostitutes are suffering.
Although it is good that imagine if this would have happened before the iPhones and all the social media was around. Kids would have gone nuts. They would have been revolted. I mean, think about it. There would have been no way to talk. Imagine you had to use your rotary phone like when we were a kid, and you're screaming at your brothers and sisters, "I want to get on that phone. I got to make a phone call." Remember, there was one phone in the house, right?
Yeah, there was one phone, but they're still going nuts because there's, I mean, kids can't do like summer sports, summer camps.
Yeah.
They can't socialize.
Yeah.
I mean, except we're in a movie, right?
Yeah.
Our socialization is Zoom and like heavy muscle radio.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I had to make it video so that you and I could interact with each other. We can't see each other anymore, so we had to see each other on here. That's the only way we can make it work.
Virtual graduations and. Imagine if you were in high school right now and you missed your senior year, the tail end of your senior year.
I got news for you, Chris. If I was in school, like let's say I had just gone into like 10th grade or something like that, started my high school years.
Like my kids.
I don't think I would have. I think I would have failed. I think I would have been I don't think I would have succeeded because I'm a type of person that needs to learn in a classroom environment. And I would have been too distracted at home. I would have been playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that while I should have been doing math and stuff like that. Yeah. I wouldn't have learned. I would have ignored it. I would have blocked it out and I would have probably been a terrible student. So I feel, I don't know what to do. We're looking at, hopefully maybe homeschooling Logan for the next year or so. I don't know. He's got VPK coming up.
Yeah.
We're going to go the Chris Aceto method of schooling.
Yeah. The homeschool academy.
We have to get your wife over here. We got to get you to move down here.
I'll
so your wife can homeschool our kids.
Yeah. Believe me,
we'll throw another jar on her plate.
People have reached out to her like we don't even know, like, "Hey, how you doing?" They're wondering
really the homeschool?
Well, maybe, yeah.
She missed her calling. She might make a lot of money. Yeah. You should set up like a little Aceto school.
I get the hat right behind me that says Aceto Academy on it.
There you go. And you test them right as they come in. They got to get tested, COVID tested every day.
The temperature on the forehead.
Yeah, there you go.
The nasal swab up the nose.
And the funny thing is all those tests are not even that accurate.
Gosh,
Romano posted something today that was like, they found that 50, maybe more than half of the, I guess the antibody tests that they're doing to see if these people have conferred immunity are not even accurate. So just because you have the antibodies doesn't mean you actually can resist the virus. That's what they're finding. So the funny thing is this thing's been around for 4 months or 5 months now, and they know nothing really about it. They've learned nothing more than it seems like when we first knew. I don't know why they're having so much trouble figuring this thing out. But they obviously don't. See, that's what happens when you manufacture a virus that doesn't exist in nature. It does things that you don't expect it to do.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys, moron. We're the dumbest bunch of people, that this planet has ever inhabited.
Well,
we make a virus, and then I don't know if we release it or it gets released. I mean, that's the one thing that can kill us all, right? Viruses. So. And we don't have there's no antibiotic against a virus, right? Because it's so we make a virus that never existed in nature before. And then we wonder, why can't we combat this thing? Maybe we shouldn't have made it to begin with. What was the reason they made it? That's a better question.
To kill people.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, you only make something for a benefit, or
Yep.
or
Doesn't make sense.
to hurt people.
We made the virus. It's all documented. I mean, all the scientists, they have the papers to show that the synthesis of how this virus was put together, and we did it, or the scientists did it under the idea that they wanted to see if they can do it. Well, maybe it shouldn't have been done, to begin with. Maybe they're worried about using stem cells, to cure, using kids' embryonic stem cells to cure people's diseases. That they're worried about, but they're not worried about manufacturing their own viruses.
Well, I mean, don't you think if Dan Duchesne was into viruses, he would have made something just to see what it does?
Yeah, but to build muscle, not to like kill people. So.
No, I mean, but just to, I mean, that's what people do, right? In every profession, they push boundaries. And
yeah, well, I guess I don't know. I guess if you're a virologist, I mean, that might get your rocks off to make a new virus. I guess.
Yeah, it only takes one or two people.
You put up a great picture of Jay Cutler. I'm going to post it. Let's talk about something bodybuilding related. What year was that from?
2002.
What a great picture. Now this is the year he took off the Olympia. He didn't do the Olympia this year.
No, he did the Olympia in September.
No, that was 01. Then 02 he did the Arnold, and then he didn't do the Olympia because he was mad, wasn't he?
Yeah. This is the Olympia right here.
He would have won, yeah.
Yeah. He
would have beat Coleman in 02. And
that's
02.
That's right? 273. That's 273 right there.
That's insane.
That's 273 the morning of prejudging, not like, when people say like, oh, a week out, 273, that's 273 the morning of prejudging.
He was really good here. Wow. And this is when his leg looked good. This is, remember, before you get that, he must have done something to his leg or something like that, because that one leg got smaller, he had that one big leg in the one. This is when he was perfect. He was like flawless here,
He squashed Cormier and Laverne at that show.
Yeah. This was a good look for him. And he said it when I interviewed him. He said that the biggest mistake he ever made was not doing the Olympia in 02.
Yeah,
He was mad. What was he mad? Was that the year was he mad because they drug tested the year before or something like that? Was that whole drug test bullshit? Oh, no.
I don't know. We never went over it really.
Or was he mad because he didn't win on 01? Maybe that's what it was. Because Coleman was off at the prejudging, and then they said, "Oh, he made up ground." It's funny how they don't have really a scoring system, and how people make up ground.
Make up ground. Joe Weedham went into a panic and he made up ground.
Yeah, well, because Joe was, he was on the contract with Joe. Probably had a lot invested in. And Jay wrote here 1,000 grams of carbs a day. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. He had 1,000, no cardio.
Wow, no cardio. He did.
Yeah.
Why was his metabolism so fast here?
I don't know. I have no idea, but I just he was training twice a day, 2 on, 1 off.
Right. And
in those days, Dave, right, that was part of the run from like 96 or 95 to 2002. How many years is that? 5, 7? I mean, he was just growing every week.
Right. How do you get 1,000 grams of carbs into your meals? Like, how did you break that down? Because that's a lot of carbs.
Well, it was like
2 cups of rice a meal.
3 cups of rice is 150, and
wow,
4 meals is 6. What's that? 150 times 2 is 3.
He was eating 3 cups of rice per meal.
3 cups of rice, and he'd have like breakfast would be like 2 giant bagels and oatmeal and egg whites, and
that's preparing for the show. He's eating bagels.
Yeah. What happened was he did the
Milos would have been nailing him with the insulin on that one. Yeah.
He did the 01 Olympia, and then he woke up the next day and said, "I'm running it into the Arnold, Chris."
Right.
And when your appetite's big after a show, he just ate from September to October to November to December to to the Arnold, like 16 weeks.
Right. It's crazy.
And, I mean, look how wacky big he is there.
And he's wide, and but another thing, Jay was always a consummate professional with the tan and the oil. I mean, you could just see everything was just perfect. I mean, you could tell this look was going to be Mr. Olympia one day. Coleman was a huge obstacle he had there, which really, it really sucks because at any other time in any other era, he probably would have, won, 8 Olympias, right?
Well, truth be told, what people don't say is he knocked Coleman's confidence off the table in 01. That's why Coleman was like a shell of himself in 02.
Yeah. Literally, Jay could have won 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Well,
5. When did he win the first one? What year?
6.
Yeah, so he lost 5 Olympias because of Ronnie basically being there.
If you ask Jay, he would say, had I won in 01, he just would have rode that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meaning
He would have never lost, probably.
Yeah. Because
until he got his own little, whatever, little injuries or whatever that happened. But he would have probably had 8 Olympias at least. Maybe he would have got 9. I don't know. Would this look have beaten Dorian?
I hate those type of comparisons.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's a hard one. But he does mass-wise stands next to Dorian. No problem. He's bigger,
Yeah. This was like the year 01, 02. And he had it in 09 too, and 06 and different years, and 03. And where he would see where he's standing with the hamstrings tight.
Yeah.
The outer sweep of the thigh would look like tumors.
He's got better legs than Dorian did.
His legs,
maybe not as big. His back wasn't as good, but it's wide.
His back is not as good, but it's very wide. Dorian did right. You got to do this too. Which Dorian?
Well,
because Dorian had years that was just stunning.
Right.
In other years, he was like good.
Yeah. That's what bodybuilding is so weird because not everyone is always their best, so
right.
We try to judge people against what was the best Dorian, what was the best Ronnie, and then we say
people have different looks. People have multiple different looks. It's not like Sean Ray, who looked essentially the same every show for 6 years.
Yeah, no, I know.
Or Dexter, who looks consistent over a 20-year period. The bigger guys look different from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, he was super impressive there in 273. People don't believe it. And I said, I put him on the scale the day of the show. And it's just like he knew all I need to do was go to prejudge, and I got this.
Right. So I was watching that, just not to change the subject, but to change the subject. I was looking at the Kai Greene variety show again. I know I'm always ranting and raving about this thing. I just love it. I think it's so creative. It's funny. It's the worst. It's the worst viewed video on his entire YouTube channel. Like, people only want to see him fucking pose or jack up his biceps in the gym. No one wants to watch anything creative that Kai does. It's like piddly squeaks, compared to the other views. And the guy's got almost 500,000 subscribers.
What's funny is, I guarantee Kai put more effort into that than anything he's ever done.
It's a ton of effort.
He was probably more excited about it than anything else, thinking it's going to get 10 million hits, right? I would think so. There's a skit I want to play for everyone. I got to get more views for this video for him because I think it's great. That's the Kai puppet right there we're seeing now. But there's the. It looks like Phil.
It looks like Phil. Yeah. There's a scene where he, I didn't even know, I had to watch it first and then I caught it, where it's Pauline Nelson is playing Tina Turner and he's playing Ike Turner. And Kai is very believable. I actually think he's a good actor. I'm going to play it. Let's see if we can listen to it. Hold on.
Hey, goddamn it, what the f***'s wrong with you? Why the f*** did you sing the song like I told you to? Sing on about shit if you don't sing it like I tell you to. You forgot the words? Did you forget the words? How the f*** you forget the words? Hey, you wrote the goddamn song. I need you to put some stink on this motherfucker. You gotta sing this motherfucker. I want you to sing from here, Ida Mae. From here. I'll be number 1 with a bullet if you do what I tell you to do. I need you to f***ing listen.
I'm just trying to help you, Ike.
Help, Ike. Help, Ike. I don't the motherfucker need no help. I don't need help from you. I don't need motherfucking help. I don't need help from you. Or no motherfucker. Damn. You been working out? You crazy. You think don't you ever put your hands in me again. You get it? I hope so. That's not good.
You could play Lawrence Fishburne in that. What's the Tarantino movie?
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. He looks.
Yeah. He looked like Samuel Jackson there. Yeah.
Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, but you know what the funny thing is? He's a good actor.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they both were great. They were both great.
Scene.
Yeah. It was intense. You know, I didn't know where it was going actually when I first started watching it either. I don't know why people don't find that interesting. I keep watching little vignettes. I haven't watched the whole thing continuously. I watch little segments of it, and I'm enjoying it better watching it like a couple minutes at a time. I think what happens is people sit down, they watch this whole thing, they want to see Kai pose. You know, they got to understand that this. First of all, I think it's too long. He could have made that into 3 episodes. So I think if Kai's listening, you got to do shorter episodes. Not because I don't enjoy it. I like watching the whole thing, but I think people's attention span nowadays is 10 minutes tops. And you'll get more hits that way because if you put up, if you turn that one show into 5 segments or 6 segments, you're going to get that many more hits. And I think people will be more likely to watch it if it's shorter. So that was my take. But I watched little parts of it, Chris, and I'm like, oh, this is, and I watch it and I look at it critically to see, well, what was the message here, and you know, how much work did it require him to do the singing and the costumes, and this thing it had to have taken him days to do this, to film this thing.
Of course,
maybe more. I'm talking like 12-hour days of filming too.
And then he segues into the Sesame Street version,
Yeah.
right? He's got little vignettes of like.
It's great. It's so creative. I wonder if he wrote the whole thing himself.
I mean, probably, right?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it's impressive. But like I said, it's, you know, you're right. People want to see him pose, and people want to see him pose.
That's it. They don't get it. Yeah, they just don't get it. They think that,
or eat after training. Right, and talk about chicken breasts, and
I mean, how much can you watch that? I mean, he's I think he's bored of that stuff already. He knows he's got to do it because that's his paycheck, but I think that he really what's going on now is he's like, I got to do something that's going to stimulate me creatively a little bit more.
Yeah, otherwise it just gets right. Everything's the same.
Yeah. So what's your prediction for the fight? Pain. Remember the Rocky 3? They asked Clubber Lang, "What's your prediction for the fight, Clubber?"
Which fight?
Pain. In the Rocky movies, you remember the Rocky 3 movie?
Yeah, I saw Muhammad Ali snippet the other day when Sylvester Stallone was getting the award for, I think, for Rocky 3 for like movie.
Oh yeah, and they came out and
he said, "You stole my lines."
Yeah,
he said, "I'm the real Apollo Creed."
Yeah, that's right. He is. That's exactly right. You know, Tampa's coming up. Obviously, there's a huge outbreak here in Florida now. I know I watched your Instagram live the other day. You were hinting that you didn't think it was going to happen. I mean, do you think that they're going to have to stop Tampa? I mean, from going on? I mean, what do you think, the governor will shut it down? Or, I mean, what do you think? Are they have to hold it with no audience? How is this going to work?
Well, I don't know what the state law is right now in terms of like how many people you can have in a closed environment.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was 50.
That's the staff, that's the people who are running the show and the coaches. I mean, who else can you get in there at that point?
And then, the fact of the matter is, if you ask any lawyer, hey, what's my liability? A lawyer is going to just go on the, default back to, well, you have a ton of liability, even if he doesn't even know, in terms of if somebody gets sick or something.
Right.
And then, if you're the venue holding it.
That's what I'm wondering, the venue.
The venue where you hold it, where's their comfort level where they say, oh yeah, we can hold a trade show, for example. They're probably not having trade shows. So it's really a glorified trade show in that it's right in a hotel auditorium.
Right.
Connected to the hotel.
I mean, does the hotel have liability? I mean, I don't know how that works.
Everyone has liability. Yes, the hotel has liability. The hotel can they can't pass their liability on, but they can enforce strict measures. And you know how hotels are. They'll just default back to, well, CDC says this. Can you follow this?
Right.
I mean, I'm renting my condos again in Miami, Dave.
Mm-hmm. Have you been renting them?
I just started. I just got the go-ahead from the city of Miami. And you have to wait, 2 days in between rentals before you can even send someone in to clean. You have to have all this stuff posted on how you do the cleaning. You have to document what type of cleaning that you do. Mm-hmm. I can't just send in the cleaning lady and say, go clean. You know what I mean? She has to wipe everything down. She has to wear, that 95 mask. Mm-hmm. She's got to take all laundry off premise. It's got to be double bagged. I mean, it's just the liability is like ridiculous. I mean, I'm doing it for now, but I'm following the rules. I end up having to pay the cleaning lady double what I paid before.
Wow. That's crazy. Crazy.
A cleaning company. So, I mean, who knows? How about flying?
I mean, I guess you could still fly, but I don't know I know they're supposed to. What is it, like a self-imposed quarantine? They're suggesting if you come to Florida, something like that. I don't even know.
If you come from New York.
Oh, from New York.
No. That's from New York is now saying if you come in from Florida, you got to self-quarantine for 14 days.
Oh, if you go from Florida to someplace else, you mean?
Yeah, to New York. New York is required. New York and Connecticut is requiring Florida residents.
Who supervises the quarantine? That's what I want to know.
Please. It's on the honor system.
It's a joke. It's like, I remember Milos. Remember when Milos had that whole problem with he was indicted. They were trying to indict him for like some kind of mailing some steroids or something, like some ridiculous thing. They brought in like half the IFBB pro bodybuilders to testify into Iowa. Yeah. It was ridiculous. The whole thing. They spent millions on this case, and they could. I think they just barely got an indictment on him. When it was all said and done, and Rick Collins, settled the case, Milos got unsupervised probation. I said, Rick, what's that? He goes, I don't know. He's puts himself on probation.
Did Alan Dershowitz work on that case?
Yeah, he must have. I said, unsupervised. I never heard of unsupervised probation.
Probation.
Yeah. So that's like this self-quarantining. Look, they might hold the show and there's not going to be an audience. I mean, I just don't know how you make money on a show. I wouldn't want to hold a show if I was a promoter. I couldn't sell tickets, right?
Yeah, I mean,
unless Tim's just going to do it because, he's a good guy and, wings of strength. Obviously, Jake is behind the thing and maybe he wants to it's an important show and they might just suck it up and hold the show. I don't know. I
mean, it is an important show, one. And then two, if it doesn't go off, the entire season's in trouble. If it doesn't go off, the entire season, if it doesn't go off, the shows coming up will not go off.
You think so? You think that it's going to be set a precedent?
Yeah, because then it puts, if it doesn't go off, then it goes off for health risk reasons. So if you're the next person in line with a show, you're going to say like, oh yeah, don't worry, I'll have the show. And then if something happens there, someone has the ability to say, hey, Mr. Smith, You're having that, bodybuilding show
Right.
where the Tampa show was canceled because of health reasons, and you thought you were smart enough to be able to figure out how to handle the show.
Right. Now, if you can't have an audience at your show, right, and obviously you still want to make money on the show, you don't want to lose money. If you're holding a pro show and you don't have an amateur show with it, how do you make money? I mean, do you not give prize money? I mean, I don't. What do you do? I mean, luckily for most of these promoters, most of the guys holding pro shows are actually having amateur shows with it. So there'll still be people in the amateur division who are going to be paying application fees that will help offset a little of that. But still, it's a lot of work to not make any money.
Yeah,
running a show.
It's a big conundrum. I wouldn't want to be a promoter, in the position that promoters are in right now, especially where I'm not sure. You may have heard about the Major League. I don't know what's happening with Major League Baseball. They're delaying the season, obviously.
Right.
And are they having no one in attendance the first few?
I don't know. That's a good question. The stadium people must be losing their mind, I'm sure.
The NBA has already talked about, we're going to have games with no people.
Well, they can make money with the TV contracts, but still, it's a lot of money to lose. I mean, think about how many people are in a stadium, Chris. And if you've gone to baseball games, right? It's not cheap to go there with your kids. I mean, you spend a lot of money when you go there. That's what one family spending, hundreds of dollars for one day.
Yeah, we were going to we were in Miami where I said, hey, let's go to the Miami Heat game one year. And I looked at the last minute tickets and they're like $400. I'm like,
wow.
Is that for the family or no? That was like a seat.
Did you see this? Did you see the posing footage from the '81 Olympia of Samir that Hansen posted?
That crazy classical music.
Yeah, I don't know if I can play the music. I don't know if they might demonetize this, but let me just show the posing. Samir is so great. Hold on, let me get this thing up here. Oh, I picked the wrong one. 1 second. Samir is such a good poser. He really very talented. I don't think people gave him enough credit for being such a great poser.
Not even. Well, he looked good from all angles.
Is there music playing?
I can't hear it.
What classic shots he hit, right? Oh, wait, then he comes out again. Hold on. He comes out again. I got to pull it out. Oh, here it is. And this is 81. This is 2 years before he won the Olympia.
Yeah.
How did he have such good body awareness? He really did. He probably practiced his posing all day long.
God, all day.
The funny thing is, the footage is shaky. I'm wondering, who's filming this? There's no iPhones like they did back then. There was one person filming the show.
The guy in Australia, probably. What's his name?
Yeah, but they wouldn't be that shaky. This could have been someone with one of those old. What were they called? What were the old cameras called? They were huge. Remember how big they were?
I don't. Samir was the first.
I don't think were they called camcorders? But they had another name too.
Dave, you got to ask Samir sometime about his cell phone.
Oh, he had one of the originals with the.
He had one of the very originals.
It was like a walkie-talkie. It came with system.
Yeah, it had a giant case.
Yeah, my friend Vinny had one of those. I was like, what the hell is this? He goes, it's a cell phone. They were it was $100 a call too. The crowd was going nuts too. They were going absolutely insane when he was hitting this music, and it was good music. It was some kind of Lebanese music, right?
Yeah, some instrumental.
Yeah,
like a guitar.
He just had good body awareness. He wasn't in the best shape of his career here, but he looked good. Great back. And I didn't realize this when I interviewed him for the show a couple weeks ago. he was like he wasn't even, I don't even know if he was 190 pounds when he won the Olympia.
Yeah, I think he told me it was
Like 187 or something like that.
I think he told me one time 189. I think.
Isn't that amazing? We had a Mr. Olympia that was 189 pounds. Crazy, right? Just goes to show you. You don't have to weigh. Well, I guess back then it didn't matter. Nowadays, if you're not 250, you're not winning the Olympia.
One of Samir's best lines that he used to tell people about when he nails his condition, he used to tell them, when my pistol shoots straight, I'm deadly.
That's good. Samir is definitely a class act. I put up a couple of pictures of myself recently.
I saw him.
Yeah.
Mass monster.
Yeah, I pulled them off of the USA Muscle.
What did you like better, Dave? Eating or training?
I like both of them. I like the whole lifestyle was great. I was obsessed with the whole process. You know, it was just like intoxicating. You know.
Yeah.
Old picture. But people love it. People love the old stuff I put up. They get so many more hits than the new stuff.
I know. What was that from? Where was that from?
I think that was from the Nationals, I want to say, in 2002, maybe.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing that picture. I saw it on your Instagram. It did say Nationals.
That's when Tony Freeman had torn his pec, and he had stopped competing because it was really bad. And then like 5 years after like he tore it, like he found some surgeon who said he could fix it because no one would touch it. None of the surgeons would touch it. So he got it fixed. And then like 8 or 9 months later, he decided to do the Nationals again. And this is a guy who was always top 5 at the Nationals on a like regular basis. I mean, and that was, I think, his comeback show. He was not that big. And he wasn't crazy hard. You know, he had the structure and everything like that. So a lot of people felt like I should have beat him. Like structurally, I should never beat Tony Freeman. But he wasn't the Tony Freeman we know that went on to become a great pro. He was the Tony Freeman like that was on the comeback trail. So I think I probably had him at the show, you know, in terms of muscularity and conditioning. You know, but it comes down to structure. Unfortunately, I always tell people that the shows are won not in the crab most muscular pose. They're won standing from the front, relaxed.
Dave, you just finished my
sentence. Because that's when they see you the most there, and that was my worst. That was the worst possible pose for me, standing there relaxed. I didn't have wide shoulders, and even though I was huge, I didn't have a wide structure. So I didn't look good. My shape was terrible there. When I hit poses, my body came alive, and I started, you know, that's when you saw all the wow factor in me. So I think it hurt me because when they're done looking at your pose and they're sitting around saying, all right, who should we pick? Who they see Tony standing there with a nice V taper. He's the X-Man, for God's sakes, I mean, right? Yeah. So I could understand how, you know, that happens. So it is what it is. But it was fun. I love those days. I remember, you know, going to the gym, you know, like these all-night gyms. I would have these crazy friends. They'd be like, meet me over here. And remember that there was a gym it was called not Allborough. It was like a Queens gym that was open 24/7. There wasn't a lot of those back then. So what was it called? Oh my God. Slipping my mind. It was like Triborough or some kind of like weird name like that. And I went there one night. I probably was maybe, you know, 260 at the time, maybe. I wasn't at my biggest yet. And there was this black guy who was training there. The guy, I don't even know who he was to this day. He was enormous. He was absolutely enormous. He probably weighed 280. He looked like what's his name? A Bertle Fox. Training to like 2 a.m. He was like, I guess he worked security. He would come there after and he would train. So my friend who brought me there was like, "Oh, I want to introduce you to the guy." And we were talking, and he was, he was all interested because I looked good. I wasn't huge, but I was shredded and everything like that. And so I was asking him a million questions, because I think, well, maybe he knows something. He didn't know anything. Yeah. He was he thought that the difference between, he told me that the only difference between test suspension and test winstrol, it's the same thing. It's the same drug. It's suspension. It's water based. I said, yeah, but one's testosterone, one's an anabolic. It doesn't really aromatize. He didn't know anything about anything. He knew I was 1,000 times more knowledgeable than him. I had only taken steroids probably for like a year, at that point. And then I realized that, what, bodybuilding is a lot about good genetics. Because this guy just ate, probably didn't even eat that much, probably, but he knew he had to eat a couple steaks a day. And he took, the basics, test suspension and winstrol. That's what he did prior to a show. Water-based. You don't use oils before a show. And the guy was enormous. Now he never probably got ripped, the guy, because he probably didn't know anything about dieting, but he was impressive. He had a lot of muscle on his body, And I tell people, I said, when you see a genetically gifted person like that, you have to work double as hard as they do to beat someone like that, because you're working at a disadvantage. It's like you go into war and the other side has better ammunition than you do. So you got to be a better shooter. You have to be a little more strategic. It's like how the Americans won the Revolutionary War. They just didn't lose. That's how they won it. Yeah. Right? The British outgunned. Okay, they outmanned. They knew better, how to fight better. They just the Americans just took a different tactic.
Different tactic, or could sometimes boils down to as well desire.
Right. You have to have more heart.
They said, right, that the British lost because they didn't really have the desire to.
They didn't care. They didn't want to be there. Yeah, of course not. Of course not. It was barbaric. It was barbaric over here for them. But getting back to the bodybuilding analogy, you have to be willing to work harder than the next guy. And that's something I always did in the gym. I know the way you trained, I know was the same way. You train like, all I thought about was I have to train harder than everyone else because I want to be better than them. And I knew I was at a disadvantage, structurally. And I said, I know I can get ripped. I got to put muscle on. I got to put more muscle on than all these guys. And then I got to come in conditioned better than everyone, because if I leave the door open a little bit, I'm not going to win. And, I have guys that I work with, and I'm sure you do too, who want to be, they show me pictures of, Mr. Olympia, and they say they want to look like that. And that's the goal. And I'll never tell anyone you can't achieve something, because I think that the mind can achieve amazing things if you really put your mind to it.
Dave froze everyone. That's you, Palumbo.
But they don't. And they don't want to suffer the way they really have to. And what am I going to tell them? I said, look, I can't give you the desire, but I'm going to tell you something. If you're not willing to go to that place, to put your body in harm's way, in a sense, a little bit, because if you gaining 30 pounds, of muscle is not, you're going to have repercussions. You might have high blood pressure. You might have to take a blood pressure medication. You might have high blood sugars. I don't know, if you from eating all that food. These are things you're going to have to address. You might have steroid side effects, acne, hair loss. These are things that come along, with the deal. There's no free meals. You're going to have side effects. You're going to have things you have to deal with. You're going to have gynecomastia that probably needs to be removed at some point. If you're not willing to accept those negatives that come with what you're trying to achieve, you'll never do it. Because there's guys out there that will lay in front of a freaking truck, and get hit by it if they think that they're going to be Mr. Olympia. And a lot of people can't go to that place, Chris. They're just not willing to go there. And that's fine. But don't delude yourself into thinking you're going to be Mr. Olympia if you're not going to go there.
Yeah, one of Jay's best quotes actually was, I'm paraphrasing, is I had absolutely no life for years.
Yeah, and Dorian said the same thing.
None. Meaning, Dorian said that, yeah, there you go. Which is it was just 24 hours a day obsession eat, train, rest, get big.
I was the same way. So
not really, no real friendships, right? Because you just
your friends are your guys that you go to the gym with. That's all.
exactly. Your training partner.
that's
Great
your
workout.
friend.
See you tomorrow.
Well, you go out to eat with them. That's all.
Yeah,
Because they have the same schedule you do. They go to the gym and they eat all day long. So I would meet guys. I had a crew. I would meet at the diner at 12 midnight for my meals there. I was just thinking about that today. Actually, I used to go out to eat at 12 midnight. I would be my last meal. I'd go to the diner. They knew my meal there. We talked about that before. And I would eat sometimes chocolate chip pancakes at night. I had a crew I met there. There was like 3 people. I had a crew that I'd meet on Friday or Saturday nights in the city for my cheat meal at the sushi buffet or sushi place there. I had people who would meet me at McDonald's. I did consults at McDonald's. That was my office. They knew me there. They knew my car when I pulled in. I had 2 cars. They knew I pulled in. They had my food at the counter, and they said, "Up, your booth's ready." Because during the day, from around noon to like 3 o'clock, no one came into McDonald's. There was a couple old people in there, so that was my office. I would sit there and I would do consults. People would actually meet me. I guarantee there's people out there who will validate this, and they'll probably text me or Facebook me and say, "Yeah, I met you there for a consult." Absolutely, and that's all I did. And the other guys were like the guys who were into steroids. Those are the other friends I had. That guy could get testosterone, Cypionate. That guy can get parabolins. This guy can get the Winchell V because he had the vet connection. Those are the people that you were friends with.
Yeah. A lot of work to keep all that going, Dave.
But you know what it is? That's my only responsibilities at the time.
Yeah.
There was we didn't have responsibilities. The responsibilities were be the best bodybuilder you can be.
Yeah, your next chicken breast was your responsibility.
Right. Luckily, I was self-motivated. So, I was at home doing, diets for people and stuff like that before anyone even knew about that. And I was giving out a lot of advice, which is good because that's laid the groundwork for later, for being able to start my own nutrition line because people trusted me. They knew that I was an information provider.
Yeah.
And, writing articles for the magazines like you did, there was no really internet initially, but in the 90s, I wrote a lot of articles, I actually wrote a few articles for Flex magazine back in the day, believe it or not.
Who did you have to deal with at Flex?
I don't remember who the science editor was at the time.
I
wrote a couple pro hormone. They asked me to write some pro hormone articles.
Was it Stoppani? He came out on
it was probably him. Yeah, I don't remember who exactly it was, but I think it was probably him. But I did, what I was writing for? There was a website, one of the first websites. This was in the early to mid 90s. One of the very first bodybuilding websites was called mesomorphosis.com. And I had a Q&A column. That's probably where Blackman so got the idea for my Q&A in the magazine. I was writing a Q&A and they were paying me $200 an article. And I would give it to them once a month or $250 or something like that. And it was the most popular. It was the most popular on the site,
Mm-hmm.
And they had a lot of good steroid information on there. And that's, people went on it. They had a message board on there. But those articles are probably still floating around,
Yeah, sure they are.
That was the predecessor. And I probably wrote for them for a good 3 or 4, maybe more 5 years he paid me for. I don't even remember how long. It might have been longer than that. I wrote I did a lot of Q&As on it, I remember. But that's how people started knowing who I was too. So, as far as knowledge goes. But you got to immerse yourself in what you want to be the best at. And that's really what the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah, no, you can never learn too much about the topic.
No. And that's why you can't, and I'm really proud of a lot of guys out there because I think a lot of bodybuilders have seen the light and say, you know what, this COVID thing, this lockdown thing might not be going away anytime soon, and it might come back, and it could be another virus. Guys are building gyms for themselves now in their house, in their garage, and they're spending money on doing it, getting the right equipment too, because they say, you know what, they don't want to be dependent on saying, because I know guys, I'm helping pro guys that can't get a gym. I'm like, what do you mean you can't get a gym? It's like, Dave, we live in the city. It's not like we can go to someone's house and train. I said, I didn't even think about that, So it's a lot harder for them. They go into the playgrounds in the city there, and they're doing pull-ups on the pull-up bars, and They're finding a random dumb. The one guy I help, he's got one dumbbell. He's got one dumbbell. It works out with the one dumbbell. He rows it. He presses
Curls
it.
it. Yeah.
Curls it.
Yeah.
One dumbbell. He's like, I think I got a second one.
How much does it weigh?
It's like 60 pounds or something like that. And when I was in prison, they didn't have they had dumbbells there out in the weight pit, but sometimes they didn't have like 240s. They only had a 40, and then they had like a 30, and they had like 135. So like you would have to take a 40 and a 30 and then put a 10 pound on top of it. So you had to balance them. So they would be like across each other, like a cross. So you can balance, you can press the 40s, Or they had a 60, they had like 160, and then they had a 40, and you can put a 20 on top of that one. You have to be you have to be creative. Yeah, you gotta be innovative. But that's what, you got to have it done. I would have been I probably would have built my own gym if this is me back in the 90s,
Of course you would have. You would have had it built within 10 days.
Absolutely.
Even if the coronavirus came to an end.
I would have been melting down like metal in my dad's house and pouring it into molds and making my own plates. There's got to be probably recipes for that online. You ever see that YouTube channel where they have those guys that they dig stuff out of the ground?
Oh yeah.
What's that site called? They got millions of hits. Those people. These guys will make a temple out of the dirt.
Out of the mud, right?
They make. It's crazy what they do. And I would have been like that. There's two guys there. They must work. They must work on these things like day and night. I'm almost convinced that they have like after what they do is they get like diggers to come there and dig it.
Yeah,
and they pretend that they're digging it.
Yeah, when nobody's looking, if they have a tractor or a backhoe come in.
They made a swimming pool. These guys.
Yeah.
Did you see that one when they made the swimming pool?
It's insane. You got to put that. I know you don't have it, but you got to put it up so that people can see it.
Oh, it's called Jungle. I think you told it's called. Amanda said it's Jungle Survival. Let me see. Hold on. Let me pull this up. That's how many subscribers? 3.6 million subscribers.
My kids subscribe.
Let me see. Building an amazing underground mansion. Hold on, this is a great one.
Where are they based?
Who knows? They're probably based in they always look at they sleep outside and stuff like that. Hold on, let me pull this thing up. This is funny. I'm sure most people know what I'm talking about. But.
No, you'd be surprised.
Hold on. Talking about they don't need any cardio. These guys, they probably carved that elephant too. So let's see.
Yes, let's see speed it up so we get the finished product.
How they know how to get through dig through and nothing's going to collapse. Everything's supported perfectly.
How do they know that it's not going to collapse? That they didn't make.
Yeah. Would you look at that thing they built?
That's insane. That's cool.
It looks like a Greek temple. They made it look like it took them like an hour to do this thing.
They must have a crew. I don't know if they just
I'm sure someone will Google it when we're done and they'll think. People love to tell me
they're like Milli Vanilli. They don't really.
Yeah, they probably don't even do it. Yeah, it's probably all a sham. Let's see. Albino alligators.
I have.
You ever seen an albino alligator?
Not in person, but is that the finished product? Is that it?
Oh, I didn't know. Hold on. I forgot to do the finished product. Hold on. Let's get back to this thing.
See if you can find it on realtor.com, that house. Underground mansion. Oh, it's got the swimming pool. See, I told you they're going to put a pool in there, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, it says with swimming pool. Read it.
Oh. How'd they fill this thing up? They'll divert like a river like 4 miles to fill it up. Oh, look, they're pouring water with the
Yeah.
4 million trips later, they filled it up. You really believe that they filled that thing up with those two pots? Man, I wonder what these guys think. I should have had them dig my swimming pool. I paid a fortune for my pool.
I know you. I'm sure you did. It's not as nice as that one.
Look at that. Yeah, but I'm sure they don't have a filter in there. That's the only difference. That dirty water fucking stays in there forever. They never showed these guys eat. Well, I think they have shown them eating. They eat like a protein bar.
Fish. They probably like fish.
They eat like some bark, some tree bark. They made they did make.
They did it in 9 days. It says.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I don't believe it. But I do like watching those videos. They're very addicting.
9 days. How long did it take to build your pool, Dave, with the whole crew?
9 months. with the digger machine. I wonder if they need to get permits like out here. Trying to find something else. I can't find my picture that I want to show you. All right, so getting back to bodybuilding, we divert. We have to divert because we don't have that much to talk about. So I saw a picture that John Hanson's been putting up all these. I'm trying to pull up. That's what I'm trying to pull up. He's been putting up all these old pictures. I saw a picture of Mike Mentzer he put up. Mike Mentzer was very impressive back in the day.
Yeah, people were impressed with him. I just never liked his physique. I always thought his pecs.
What didn't you like about it?
Flat pecs.
Oh.
Because he came like the big.
I think he overtrained. That's why, probably.
The big name. No, because he was like in the Dorian. He was like the one set guy.
Right.
How can you overtrain one set?
That's true.
I mean, in my mind, you have think of it, Dave. Arnold, Lou Ferrigno, Serge Nubret, and then comes flat pec Mike Mentzer. And he kind of had a gut too. He had a gut.
Did he really?
And Arnold, made fun of his gut when they competed against each other at the.
Oh, really? Arnold, he probably wanted to kill Arnold, didn't he?
Yeah, he did at the. Yeah, he did to the day he, for the rest of his life. Arnold got into his head big time. You ever see that picture where he's Arnold's entering at the last minute? He tells Mike Mentzer to shut up. You have a gut. Your gut was hanging out on stage last year.
What did Mentzer say in return? Probably wanted to beat him up.
Yeah, no, he went nuts. He came unhinged. It was at the athletes meeting in Australia in 1980 when Arnold was supposed to go out there as a color commentator and said. At the last minute says, I'm doing the show.
Well, he probably had that whole thing planned, I would think, right?
Yeah, of course he did.
He knew that he would psych those guys out.
And he told Mike Mentzer, your belly was hanging out last year. See? His pecs are flat.
The funny thing is, it's weird how Mentzer doesn't really look like he has a gut. I don't know. You think Arnold was just picking on him?
No, he did kind of have I don't know if he had a gut, but when his just pecs were flat and he didn't have, that chest to waist ratio that like Arnold had.
Yeah, he wasn't wide. That's the problem, I think, with him. I think structure wise, he had good delts though.
Yeah, good delts.
He got ripped. He got really ripped.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of phentamine. I mean,
is that what they used back in the day?
No, he used a lot of. Mike Mentzer used a lot of speed. What is it? What were they using back?
Oh, like amphetamines?
A lot of amphetamine.
Really?
Ridiculously low calorie diet.
Wow.
Under 1,000 calories.
Really? Why? Yeah. Why do you think he did that? Just because he wanted to be crazy ripped?
Yeah, wanted to be crazy ripped.
I wonder if that hurt him. I wonder if he lost muscle when he was dieting.
Oh, amphetamines is very protein sparing.
Oh, it is? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's protein sparing.
But you can't eat on it. I would think you would lose muscle just because you're not eating enough food.
That's why he was able to do 1,000 calorie a day diet. I don't know how long he did it for, but I mean 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
Right.
You do 1,000 calories a day, you're going to lose weight. You're going to get hard.
Yeah, but a lot of guys, I would disappear. I would lose tons of muscle on a diet like that. Not everyone else would. I know guys that never lose muscle. My metabolism was just too fast. Maybe he had a slow metabolism. Maybe that's why he needed to do it. Mm-hmm. Was that something that those guys did back in the day, though?
Yeah. All of them did it.
Wow.
70s and let's see, 70s.
Well, back then in the 70s, you can go to a doctor and they were writing diet pills for everyone.
Oh yeah, 70s, 80s. Because I know somebody who went out. You want to know? I always say this, Forrest Gump, Dave. Like my school teacher, my school teacher was under contract with Weider.
Really? For what?
Bodybuilding. My school teacher was a bodybuilder, and
wow, you had a lot of bodybuilding influences there.
He used to go out to.
What was his name?
Skip Robinson.
Okay.
And he used to go out and train with Arnold and Frank Zane.
Yeah, I've heard that name.
At Gold's in Venice. And Joe, he was one of the first people that Joe put under contract, would fly him up in the summer. And Skip told me that when you get out there, not Arnold, but people, I'll tell you off camera, I don't want to say because the people are still around and they get pissed. But they said to Skip, Skip was like from Maine and school teacher, and Joe Weider's bringing him out there to California to train.
Right.
He's so excited. Can't even sleep in the morning. Right? It's like the sunrise, and he's like down to Gold's or World Gym.
Right. You can't wait to get up. Yeah.
And bodybuilders out there who are very well known would say, "God, where do you get your energy from? I can't even make it to the gym without amphetamine." What's that talking about?
Oh, so that's how he found out?
That's how I found out.
Well, but that was a very common thing for people to do back then. Like every woman who wanted to lose weight just went to the doctor and they wrote them a prescription for the stuff. That was standard. People did that back then. And it wasn't like a controlled substance. It wasn't like frowned upon. That was what the doctors prescribed. So that's what people used. Isn't it weird how times change? Like nowadays, amphetamines are like controlled substances. You go to prison for those things. Yeah. They're afraid you're going to make crystal meth out of it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That be afraid that you're going to make something out of it. You can't even go get decongestants anymore.
Right. No, I know. They question you if you buy too many bottles of it because they think you're going to take the ephedrine and turn it into crystal meth. When I went back, even in the 90s, when I used to go out and we've talked about this before, when I would go to the firehouse, there'd be people passing out on the table there, and I'd be like, "What the hell's going on?" Everyone had a little thing of GHB. They would get they would have a little powdered thing. They sold them. They were legal. They would scoop it. That's why they're called scoops. You have a little scoop. You put a scoop under your tongue, and then take a little swig of some diet soda or something like that, and then they'd be G'd out all day. Basically.
GNC used to sell Renutrient.
Yeah, that was the precursor, the GBL precursor, and it was legal. It was a completely legal until I guess people and bodybuilders I used it therapeutically. I would use it before sleep just to help me sleep better. I didn't even know people were going out and partying on the stuff. And then it became part of the whole club scene. And then it was just too easy to get. And I guess people started ODing on it because, you're in a club.
How do they party on it? I thought it pushed you to sleep.
Well, if you fight that sleep effect, in other words, if you don't do too much of it and you just take a little bit of it, you get a nice high feeling. The problem is that people was drinking alcohol with it. When you drink alcohol with it, it multiplies the stuff times 1,000 and you just pass out. That's why you see people sleeping on the side of it. Yeah. People would just be out. You could die, obviously, too, from it. If you take enough of it. I've seen some people do some crazy stuff. I remember that there was an Arnold Classic where someone brought a bottle of it, and you had to dilute the stuff down. I mean, this is when it was 100% legal. They had a concentrated form, so I was helping someone dilute it down, and it was getting on my fingers. And I don't know if I was licking my fingers or something like that, but I was starting to feel weird. And then I'm like, and I didn't even use it. And before I knew it, I was asleep. I fell asleep from it. It ruined the whole night. I lost the whole night going out after the Arnold because after the show was over, of course, because I fell asleep from it and I was absorbing it. I didn't realize it was so concentrated, the stuff that you go from feeling good to being unconscious, basically. And, most people just fall asleep from it. But obviously, if you mix it with other drugs that are, depressants, you can certainly die from it. That's how River Phoenix died. So.
From GHB.
From GHB, yeah. Well, as part of the cocktail, yeah.
And it increased GH levels, right?
Yeah, that's why I used it. I really believe that it did increase growth hormone levels. It's when you slept at night, quite a bit. You know, I think it was like a significant amount. It's just like I said, you had to be careful with the stuff because I remember I had the nutrient bottle that we used to buy. I had a guy used to send me cases of it actually, and you would take a little swig. And the problem is a lot of times I wouldn't go right to sleep, which is stupid. You should drink it and then go right into bed. I would sit around, I'd be on the phone or something like that. And I was on the phone one night talking to someone, I don't even remember who. And next thing I know, I'm like laying on the floor, you know, and I got a big bump on my head. I was so mad at myself that I was so irresponsible. Because this is back when, you know, I didn't do any, there was no, like, I wouldn't even drink a sip of alcohol, you know, that I was so like, you know, recreational drugs. I was really just bodybuilding drugs, you know, that kind of thing. So, but it was, but that was legal. And now it's a controlled, not even a controlled 3 substance, it's a controlled 1 substance. It's like in the same categories like heroin, you know, so
and
times change.
Amazing.
You know?
You used to be able to go right into GNC.
Yep.
I'll take the Renutrient.
One of the guys who were making it, I don't know if I think it was, he had a different brand of it. The guy it was a friend of mine, Don, was making it. And when they made it illegal, he's like, I have like 20 cases. Can I ship them to you? I'm like, what am I going to do with 20 cases? I said, fine. He's like, I got to get them out of I said, fine. He shipped them to me. I put them in my attic in my old house I had. Not my dad's house, the house I had after that in Seaford. And they sat in there for 2 years. I would maybe use a bottle, you know, once in a while. And someone asked me about them, and they're like, you still have that stuff? And this is, I guess, when it started becoming like no one had it anymore because it was completely outlawed. They couldn't make it anymore. And I had 20 cases in my attic, you know? And so I started selling it. This one kid said, can I buy them? I was selling them for $50 a bottle just to get rid of them because they were taking up my whole attic, Chris. Little did I know, this guy was diluting them down and selling them. He was making 10 times what he was paying me for, probably 20 times what he was paying me for. He kept, can I get another case? Can I get another case? I'm like, you could take them all.
Yeah.
Take them all. This kid became, next thing you know, he's driving up in a brand new sports car to my house. I'm like, where the fuck did you get that car? You work at the deli.
Yeah.
He was making.
Did you sell?
What?
How many total bottles did you sell the guy?
Well, there was 20 cases, and there was like what 6 bottles per case, I think. So, but he was taking the bottles and he was diluting them because they were strong, you know. And he was selling, like, he was rebottling them. I guess this guy. I didn't know. I didn't care. I just wanted them out of my attic. I was going to throw them in the garbage.
Yeah.
When he heard me say that, he's like, he almost lost his mind, you know. So he eventually came and bought them all. So that was my GHB story. And this was like maybe, like I said, about 2 years after it was you know, banned. I still had them all. So, and then after I sold them, then I said, why did I sell all of them? I should have kept a couple bottles for myself. I didn't even want them in my house. I was all paranoid. I'm like, I don't need this shit. You know what I mean? Once it became illegal, I'm like, I'm not going to get arrested for fucking GHB in my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's bad enough that you got to use steroids as a bodybuilder. You know,
right? It's so wild that they were in GNC.
Yeah, everyone sold them. And Chris, I got news for you. Stores sold them for years after that under the counter.
Sure.
Because people didn't have a perception of it being an illegal substance because it was legal, you know?
Yeah.
It just is weird. It would be like if steroids it would be like if you can go to GNC and buy steroids and all of a sudden they say, oh, you know, no more steroids. And I guess really that was the case. Because remember when they were selling the pro hormones in the stores?
Oh, yeah. For a long time.
Yeah, I mean they were fine, and then they outlawed them because they realized that they worked. Every time something works, Chris, they outlaw it. You ever notice that? Yeah. GHB got outlawed, the pro hormones got outlawed. I'm trying to think of all the other things too. Oh, did
ephedrine get outlawed? Or?
Yeah, ephedrine got outlawed too. Yeah, absolutely. There was a couple other substances along the way that they outlawed too, when they realized, oh shit, this stuff actually works.
Yeah. Anything they outlawed.
You know what was a great fat burner? You remember that French steroid, the French product, what was it called? The Tricana?
Tricana, yeah. What was Tricana?
Triacana was like a herbal T3, essentially, to make it simplistic.
I thought it was. I was always told that it was Triacana. That's how Surgeon Gray would say it.
Yeah.
That it somehow converted. Bob told me it converted T4 to T3.
No, I think it was actually T3. It actually was like an herbal form of T3. I don't think it converted anything. It was actually, and then actually, so we were selling that for a while because I had a guy making it for me, and I was selling tons of bottles of it because it was legal. It was an herb, but they realized that this French herb, actually worked. It acted like thyroid hormone, so they outlawed that. But then they found that there was that actually in the biochemistry of how thyroid hormone works, we know the T4 is the inactive form, right? That's thyroxine. It converts to T3. But T3 then converts to a T2 metabolite that actually has some fat burning qualities. It doesn't have all the metabolism controlling qualities of T3, but it will burn fat. And that was legal. And I actually had that in one of my versions of Lipolyze. When when I first came out with Species Nutrition, my fat burners, I had my non-stimulant fat burner Lipolyze. I put that in there, and for about a year and a half, it was still before they outlawed it. Then of course I had to pull it out, but it was a great fat burner. It really, really worked tremendously. There was some Top Pro guys that were using it, and they bought all my back end. When they made it illegal, they said send me cases of it. I was sending cases to a couple people. I'm not going to mention who they are, but they're still competing. But did
Triacana get banned from France? Triacana. So
no, because it was always sold at pharmacies there. But what happened was someone got an idea that, you know what, this has got to be DSHEA compliant because it's actually can be found in nature. It's an herb. It's not like a synthetic drug. Mm-hmm. And according to the law, it was, but they said because it had drug-like qualities, I don't know how they rationalized making it illegal. I don't know if anyone got arrested for it. I don't think they probably didn't arrest a single person, but what they did was you couldn't make it anymore. You couldn't import it to the manufacturers. The supplement manufacturers wouldn't make it anymore. And you certainly didn't want to sell it because you didn't want any of the FDA coming in and busting you. I did, at least. But for a while, I sold a lot of bottles of that stuff. It really did work. It was a really good fat burner, and for people who don't have access to taking anything, illegal, it was a great way to legally buy something that actually worked. But I'm sure no one was killing themselves with the stuff. They should. Why they banned it, I have no idea.
And how many would people use back in the day? Triacana tabs.
I don't know. I remember whatever the dosages of the stuff we were making. It was like 3 to 5 of them a day, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't that about right?
Yeah. That's why I just.
They had Triacana cream too. Remember?
Yeah, absolutely.
You would mix that with the thiomucase cream.
Surgeon Bray used to mix Triacana cream with thiomucase cream with Picuta cream.
Picuta cream, right? Yeah.
And he'd use the thiomucase injection.
Yeah, I never understood why they would use thiomucase injection, because thiomucase was something with like a dispersing agent. So I understand they rubbed it on the skin. It supposedly helped disperse the fat in the water.
If you ever tried,
it had to hurt like a bastard, right?
Oh God, thiomucase injectable. See if Jerry Scalise ever used it.
What would you guys do? Put it in their glutes?
In your quad.
Oh.
And dude, it would feel like someone shot you with a bullet.
It probably never was meant to be injected.
No, I tried it once. It was like the worst experience ever. I was already ripped. I don't know why. Yeah. Right? It was like, I'll be so ripped if I use this.
I was using the cream. I was rubbing it all over. God knows how much thyroid I was probably getting in my system just from that. Thank God I only used it the last 2 weeks. I probably would have given myself a heart attack, because we would put smear. I was getting 100 tubs at a time. 100 tubes at a time of the stuff. Of the Triacana cream, and I was selling it to everyone, to all my friends, because it was legal. I had a guy, and I had gone over to Spain to do something, And I hooked up with a guy there, and he's like, "Oh, I get this stuff all day long. It's legal." I said, "All right." He would mail me 100 tubes of it. It was mostly girls would buy it. They'd rub it all over their stomach and their thighs and butt until they stopped it. But the stuff worked. And then people started making the pills, like we said, the tree canna pills. And then then the government banned that. But the cream was around, for a long time. Because for some reason, people don't think they don't equate creams with drugs,
Yeah. Well,
you could put a lot of good stuff in creams, if you're really smart about it. So anyway, that's the good old days, the Wild West, back in when things were fun and nothing was illegal. Arnold's Day had to be even better. Imagine going to that. Had to be the greatest thing. You know what? I need my steroid cycle. I'm just going to go to my pharmacist down the block and just pick up what I need. I need 2 bottles of Test. I need 2 bottles of Deca, some Winchell tabs, and give me a kit of Eli Lilly Humatrope. Okay, no problem.
Dave, when was the first time you went to a country where you could walk into a pharmacy and just say, "Do you have Tests?"
My friend and I went to Barcelona back in '91. We went there with wads of money. I said, "This is crazy. I'm not going to," because if you remember, they had just banned steroids in 1990. They had launched that Control Act of 1990, where they made a controlled substance. So there was nothing around. No one can get anything. There was a lot of fakes and counterfeits around. I said, "This is crazy. I'm not putting this crap in my body." So I said, "Let's go to Spain. We'll buy the stuff and we'll mail it back to ourselves." And that's what I did. It was great. I remember we were in the pharmacy and they had Winchell tabs in like little punch outs. It was like, I think there was 20 Winchell tabs. I think they were like 5 milligrams of the tab or something like that. They were little. Remember the pink ones? Mm-hmm. They were pink colored, it was $2 for 20. So we're like, for $2. So we would take the whole box every day while we were there. Just the whole box. 20 pills. And it wasn't really that much if you think about it. It was probably 100 milligrams of Winchell, I felt like I was taking a lot though. But for $2, that's like that's a Diet Coke right there, So, but it was amazing. You could just walk in there and it was legal.
You must have loved it. That's why I asked.
I was like, do you know that I found these 2 women? Because some pharmacies wouldn't sell to us because they was nervous. These 2 women were greedy, and they saw, I was waving American money at them, and they actually let me come back behind the counter there. They had a computer.
I knew you were going to say that. Come on.
And
Dave.
I went on the computer because they didn't know. They said we could order anything that we can get. So I was on the computers doing searches for all the stuff because I already had researched what was available, because Bill Phillips and this one and that one, I knew what they had in every country. So I'm like, all right, I know they got this and this and this and this in Spain. Like Spain had like the Winchell amps, the Primobolan from Sharing, the 100 milligram one. They had the Test of Iron, which was like Test and Anthate. Yeah. They had, it was some kind of, I forget what the name of the anadrols were there. They weren't called anadrols. They were called something else, but it was like oxymethylone, something like that. So I knew all the things they had there. And then I also knew that they had stuff in France, which we were pretty close to in Barcelona. They had Parabolin, but they couldn't order the French stuff. So I had to go to Andorra. You know what Andorra is? Mm-hmm. Andorra is a little separate, like sheikdom almost. It's like its own little country. It's between France and Spain. And you got to go through these mountains and through these tunnels and stuff like that. It's about an hour from Barcelona. And we would go there and we stay there. They have like people dressed like, from the Middle Ages there. They actually have like a royal family there and stuff like that. So we went through there. And once we get there, the pharmacies there had both French and Spanish stuff they can get. So I hooked up with a pharmacist there, and they got me Parabolin, Dynabolin. These are all French steroids. At the time, they had stopped making Permistral, which was Masteron.
Oh, yeah, Permistral, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
That was the French version of dromostanolone. They didn't have that. So we got Androxin there. Remember? Or they were called Andriols, which was testosterone-like pills. Yeah, Undecanoate, yeah. And what else did we get there? The main reason we went there was for Parabolin, and they were expensive. They were expensive because they knew that bodybuilders were buying them. They were, I think, $11 or $10 an ampule, okay, which was still a third of the price they were going for in the U.S. In the U.S., they were selling for $25 to $30 an ampule, you know, and people bought them. You only use 2 of them a week, right? 76 milligrams twice a week. So for $10, it was still a bargain, even though I knew that they were doubling the price on us. And we bought a couple hundred of them. We brought them back. It lasted me a couple of years, you know, so what I did was I stockpiled the stuff in my drawers at home. We sent back packages. A couple of them got lost. A couple of them made it. And I had enough to last me for 3 years of you know, using gear. And it was real. And I didn't have to worry about, oh my God, am I going to get an infection? Is it fake? Yeah. And it was crazy. But
you had a pharmacy in your house.
I had my own little pharmacy. Yeah, it was. But that's how you know, in my mindset, I had to have the best stuff. I couldn't be functioning. You know, there were guys competing that were probably natural because they were using fake gear.
You started the show with saying that you were obsessed.
Yeah,
you were obsessed.
Yeah, I was obsessed. But that's the way I am about anything. I immerse myself in the whole subculture of whatever I'm doing, and I have to know everything about it. And that's how you extract the best out of yourself. Yeah. If you want to be the best at something, you have to be willing to do everything it takes to be the best. And you know, if I had Coleman genetics, you know, maybe I wouldn't have been that obsessed. Maybe it would have become so easy to me. I'm like, what do I have to push the envelope so much?
No, you would have pushed it even.
Or maybe I would have pushed it more, right? Who knows?
You've been trying to be 400 pounds on stage.
Right. Well, like Dorian's like, I didn't have to get any bigger. Steve Weinberger kept telling me, what are you doing, Dorian, with these crazy heavy, you know, 1-rep sets and stuff like that? And I couldn't stop myself. I got to see how far I can push it, how much muscle I can add. And he knew, you know, you intuitively knew. He knew he didn't need to get any bigger, but he couldn't stop himself, you know. Yeah. But that's why he was the greatest at what he did, you know, at the time. So anyway, it was a fun little trip down memory lane. It's a little late, so we're going to wrap this thing up, as we say every week, with Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts.
Good night, everyone. See you next week.